Well, speaking of Trevor,
Wow.
we're going to call righty from the bullpen here.
Yeah.
We're going to do our best bullpen call here. We've got our closer popping in for the bottom of the ninth here. Did I mess this up? Here we go. That was anticlimactic on my part. I need the pass in button here. Oh, man. I messed this up. Rosenthal back with us. It feels like you were just here a few weeks ago, man.
Seriously.
And so thanks again for joining us. Obviously, tonight we're doing a live stream to raise money for Big League Impact, and you're an ambassador for them, player rep for them. And so, Trevor, thanks for joining us again, man. We really appreciate it. How have the last few weeks been for you since we last chatted?
Yeah, man. Thanks for bringing me in here to close it out. I was expecting maybe like an entrance, some sort of like entrance song, the lights go out, some flashing strobes or something. But no, yeah, I'm becoming a regular on here, man.
That's the best we got.
I love this this whole setup we have here. This banner. I mean, you guys are just killing it. I love it. But yeah, happy to be back on here. Happy to be joining the Newton News, becoming a regular guest. How's it been? How's the day been going so far? The last few hours.
It's been a ton of fun. I feel like it's gone by quicker than I thought it would. I thought 4 hours would be tough, but like especially every 30 minutes, new people coming in. It's been I feel like lively chatter. And we've got another guest here as well. JD Hafron from the Locked On podcast is going to join us for the last 30. He's got his festive gear on. What's up, JD?
Ooh.
What's up, boys? Andrew, we shop at the same store. What up?
That's awesome. Trevor, could you tell us a little bit about your involvement with Big League Impact for anyone who's listening? We've tried to plug different things about it throughout the stream, but I mean, you've got a partnership with them, so you know them well.
Yeah, no, they've been awesome, man, and it's really cool to see how the work they're doing has grown so much. I mean, I remember back in whenever I think Wayno and when he started this adventure, it was doing some fantasy football, and then the events just kind of kept coming up, and the events are amazing. So if anybody ever has a chance to get invited to do an event for Big League Impact, I know they do some Top Golf and some other things that I've been a part of that are so fun. But you really get to meet a lot of different players and spend time with guys in a setting that you might not normally be able to experience. But aside from the fundraising, the way they're able to use these funds to directly help people in need is tremendous. And I know Adam and myself and a lot of other guys too, are very passionate about seeing that action take place firsthand. We've traveled to different parts of the world and seen projects being developed or deployed. And to see actually that hard-earned money being put to use it's just so rewarding. And it's not a surprise that someone like Adam Wainwright could evolve a positive action like this, like he has. So yeah, good for you guys to keep it going. And I know they appreciate all the help that they can get.
Yeah, man, thanks. We really appreciate you hopping on with us to close it out here as we approach the end of the stream. But yeah, we just wanted to talk a little bit more. We know your fastball is amazing, always topping out triple digits as it was back in the Cardinal days. So as you prepare to come back to the major leagues, do you think you're going to be throwing that as often as you were before in the future? You don't have to answer this if you're giving away secrets, but interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's like a blessing and a curse, because it's like the fastball is great, and it's a pitch that has served me very well. I've had a lot of success, but at the same time, there is a pitchability aspect. I mean, there's other ways to get outs and to be effective, and that's something that I hope to evolve. But at the same time, when you come into a game and you're blowing it past people and you're lighting up the radar gun, it's hard not to just keep throwing down number one. I know working with Yachty, it seemed like he loved it. Like he's just like, yeah, let's just it's working. Why try and fix something that's not broke? Keep pumping the heater. But no, I think to extend my career and to continue to be an effective pitcher, there's going to be an evolution. at some point, I would imagine that takes place. Who knows if that's now or 10 years from now, Lord willing. But no, I like the game. I love baseball. I love everything that goes into pitching, and I certainly have developed other pitches, but I would like to continue to learn how to be more effective in other ways in the future.
That's crazy because I mean I was looking at your like baseball savant page, and your fastball always grades out well, but in your last big league action, your secondary stuff graded out really well too. And so I was interested in that. Obviously, Andrew's asking about how you're going to evolve as a pitcher. I want to ask one more question about your fastball though. What was it like the first time you like broke triple digits? What was it like the first time you saw a radar gun and it's like, wow, I just threw that 100 miles an hour? What was that feeling like?
I'm trying to think like exactly. I know there was a time, my first big league spring training camp in 2012, where I think that might have been the first time I hit triple digits. I'm not sure. Can't remember exactly. But I know I had a friend at that time text me, and he said, man, like, you hit 100 miles per hour. Like, that's crazy. Like, how'd that feel? And I'm like, I replied, I was like, the stadium radar gun is probably wrong. It probably wasn't 100 miles an hour. So like that being said, I haven't ever just really put too much emphasis on like what that meant. I think the radar gun and velocity can get overvalued or over dramatized at times. And from a player's perspective, I think it's just more important, like I was talking about, like just focusing on getting the outs, focus on being fundamentally sound and just playing the game and not so much of how hard you're throwing a ball or how far you're hitting it. But no, it's a surreal feeling. And I guess for me, maybe I'm just a little bit naive because it's just what I've done. And it's just kind of normal to me. But I can say that when you're standing on the mound 60 feet away from a hitter and you're throwing 100 miles per hour, it feels really like an unfair advantage. Like I'm thinking to myself, there's no way these guys have any chance to hit this ball.
That's awesome.
I got a question for you, Trevor.
What's up, JD?
Were you ever scared to shake off Yachty in your career? Like when he throws down the sign, did you ever go, nah, that's not what I'm doing. That's a terrible idea, Yachty.
Yeah, I get that question so much, and it's something that guys talk about, especially with you're a rookie, you're just coming up, and it's like, hey, like how does this work? Like, are we supposed to shake him off, or we're not? It's pretty funny. No, I mean, I would say that when you start working with Yachty, like you begin to understand. You begin to develop a confidence in the numbers, the fingers that he's putting down, because you see how much work he goes into it. Obviously, he has a ton of experience from behind the plate, but before each game, he's doing his homework. He has a plan. He has an idea of how he wants to get guys out. But I do shake him off. I have shaken him off, and guys do, and it's a normal thing, and it's how it all works. But there was one time we were in Milwaukee. We were in Milwaukee, and I came in, and it was early in my career. I came in, I think, maybe in the 7th or 8th inning to get somebody out of a jam, and we got a couple pitches into the at bat, and he threw down signs. I think he was calling for a changeup maybe, and I shook him off, and he was like, no, like kept giving me like, this is what you're gonna throw. And I was like, no, I just don't like that. So I kept shaking off. He calls timeout. In the middle of the bat, comes out and talks to me. I'm like, oh no, like this is not good. Like he really was. So it was great though. He came out to the bat. We talked about it, and we ended up throwing a fastball, strike 3, got him out. Everything was good. No animosity was held. But that was the one time that I remember. I'm like, oh no, like should I have shaken him off right there? Like he's coming out to talk to me. What's gonna happen?
He didn't give you the Crash Davis business where he told the hitter what you were throwing so he could hit a ball or something like that out in right field.
I mean, maybe he did, and I just got lucky and snuck it by him. That would be great. I'll have to ask him.
Oh, that's incredible. Something, obviously you talked about Yadi's game plan prep, and it's just hard to put into context or put into words all the stuff he does for that. When you think about your preparation, when you're going through the 162 game season, you're coming up on a new series, what does it look like to prep for an opposing lineup so that when you come into the game, you know what pitches you're wanting to throw to who, how you're wanting to attack hitters?
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Guys go about it in a lot of different ways. This morning, I actually had a good conversation with the Cardinals hitting coach, Turner Ward, and I would say, like, especially early in my career, that's where I gained a lot of my knowledge on how to approach an at bat, how to a game plan for a hitter. I would spend a lot of time in the cage with John Mayberry and Mark McGuire, and I was just going in there because as a relief pitcher, there's really not a whole lot else that I was doing. And talking about, like, this was during spring training. Like, I would get to the field early, get my stuff done, and wander around and go see what kind of information I could pick up. So I would hang out with these guys, and through that experience, they were really helpful of while they were flipping guys batting practice in the cage, they would tell me, like, hey, like, you see when the ball is here and you see his bat path, you see where the ball's going, and they're just giving me little nuances that I was able to pick up. And then, so what that translated into in my game planning throughout the season is we get access to video either through an iPad or a computer. And we have a video team that puts all that information together for us. And I really like to use video. Some guys are more like, printed out stats and, and they analyze the statistics that way. I like to look at the video and see what a guy's timing looked like, see what pitches he was struggling with, see what his recent at-bats, what he was doing, and specifically pairing him up with other pitchers that have an arsenal like mine. And that gave me a good idea of what I was going to do for each player. And so I would take some notes, write them down, and then eventually take those notes, condense them into like a small index card. So whatever the lineup was, I would have just a few little notes of, like, okay, this is a sequence or locations that I'm going to try and get to with this guy that I know if I can execute my pitch, I'm going to have a strong advantage. So that's more or less my process. And it's always evolving, and teams have a little bit different approaches. And it's actually surprising how much work goes into the analytics for each pitcher. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we joke because, especially in the bullpen, we have a lot of time to spend with each other and chat, and we get all of this information coming down from the front office, from the video guys, from the analytical department, and at the end of the day, it's like, if you just execute your pitches, up and in, down and away, get ahead of the fastball, and no off speed in the dirt, like, you're gonna do pretty well. Like, that's tried and true and hasn't changed much. But I think more than anything, that preparation, whether it works or not, it gives you a layer of confidence, like a psychological level of confidence of, okay, I've put in this work, I've prepared, I know this guy, and now I'm going to go and get him out. So all those things are definitely important when you're competing at the highest level.
Yeah. And obviously hitters are game planning for you as well, and they've got their index card of information on you. So has there ever been at bats where you kind of go into it with a game plan and then you're kind of like, okay, this guy knows what I'm trying to do, and you've kind of had to switch it up on the fly? What does that, I'm sure that's happened before. So what does that kind of look like when you have that chess match and you've got your game plan, they've got yours, and you got to figure out how to make it work?
Yeah, that's the most fun part about playing the game, I think, it's almost like an anticipative or like an emotional aspect where I can almost sense that, okay, he thinks he knows what I'm going to do here, and he's anticipating it. And there's been different ways that I've used that. There's been times where, okay, if I know he's looking for a pitch that's going to be on the corner of the plate away, I know if I throw that pitch just an inch and a half or 2 inches a little bit farther off the plate, he's going to swing because he's looking for it. I can sense that he's looking to hit that pitch, but I'll put it just out of the reach of his barrel. And so that's one instance that I could think of. Or other times where they're, it's just like almost like an ego battle where I'm just pumping heaters, trying to blow by them. They're just nicking them, fouling them off, and it's just like, no, like just masculinity at its finest, just mano y mano, man up. I'm gonna keep pumping it. I'm gonna win this thing.
That's awesome.
Dude, that is awesome. I have a question for both of you guys, kind of switching gears a little bit here, getting back to talking about kind of the Cardinals plans, roster construction. I want to start with JD. Is there a starter that like no one has mentioned yet? Maybe someone who's not necessarily like the sexiest option out there, but somebody that like nobody's talked about, or at least that you've seen, where you're like, yeah, the Cardinals could go get that guy and it would be a really nice under the radar move.
Well, I think you would go to teams that have a lot of pitching available. So I would be drawn more to like a Seattle or a Miami right now, because they've got young arms and they've got some. Miami's always intrigued me because they've got younger guys who have been hurt that were on the path to be very successful.
Like Max Myers, a good example, right?
Yeah. And then injuries kind of took them down. And then, some of those guys, when they're out for as long as they are, they kind of get forgotten about, and you forget how good they were coming up in the system.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of ones that, maybe you could sneaky target them and try to pry them away. It's not like the Marlins don't know they have them anymore, but those are some of the guys that, you might want to, take a flyer on and see if you could, talk your way into bringing them back. Maybe Skip will do you a solid and say, hey, go ahead, throw them a bone, let them get over there. And maybe some of these guys too have lost, their positioning. Like maybe they're not going to get the innings that they might deserve at this point of their careers at the major league level. And they're kind of toiling away at AAA, waiting for that next opportunity. And we know how it is. A change of scenery can do some people good. So, Miami seems like a team that's got a couple of those type of guys available. So that's where I would be looking. Seattle looks like they're not ready to budge on anything, and they're not. They're fighting it, man. They're like, I don't know. Why should we get rid of all this depth we've got right now? So I would be more leaning towards Miami. Skip Schumacher, you've got a nice little relationship down there. So maybe something there could happen.
I give my under the radar reliever.
Is he pitching for the Newt News podcast right now?
Maybe.
He's closing.
Maybe.
Closing it out. I'm working December 19th. I mean, dang, I'm just getting my reps in here for the season.
Yes, sir.
Oh, we love it. I mean, I think we'd all be very, very excited if there were some kind of reunion happening here. I know we talked about that last time. Trevor, I wonder, like, when you hear us talk about, like, or in general, when you hear fans talk about trades and it's like, oh, I'd love to do this kind of thing or sign this player. And, like, if you've ever had your name thrown around in conversations like that, like, how does that feel as a player when you're like, oh, I wonder what Cardinal fans think. Oh, they want to trade me for this pitcher. Like, how does that feel as, like, I don't know, because it's just what we do as fans, right? We're like, we all want to play John Mosey. Like, I know you talked about in the bullpen before. You've talked about like, oh, if we do this and that, we become a better club. But what is that like as a fan, or like listening to the fans' perception of that? And then maybe even in the clubhouse when you're looking around, you're like, oh, we could use another third baseman. Like, how does that feel thinking about looking at the current third baseman you have right now or something like that?
Yeah, that's it is weird. I would say it's equally, for me, like from my personal experience, it's equally as weird as seeing yourself be a Major League Baseball player, where it's like, I got there, it was a dream, and then all of a sudden I'm wearing the Redbirds uniform and playing in Busch Stadium, and like, okay, this is like a surreal type of experience. And I think that goes hand in hand with hearing other people talk about you, especially in that nature. There's the other side of people talking negatively about you and all that comes with it, which for me, it's always been a little bit of a detachment of like, that's not, I don't take it personal, I should say. Like, it's kind of, that's the guy in the uniform and it's part of the job, whatever. But I would say, like, being in trade talks, it's kind of, at least the times that I've been in, it's kind of like a positive. It's like, anytime you're a value of somebody, if somebody wants you and, they're going to trade for you to get them get you on their team, whether you're leaving one team or not. It's kind of cool. It's surreal because you're like, okay, all these people really are invested in what's going on with Trevor Rosenthal, and I'm like, I'm just a normal guy. But I was traded one time, is unfortunately during the shortened 2020 season, but I remember then thinking like, I was going from a bad team to a better team, or from a decent team to a much better team. So it was like, okay, this is cool. Like I feel flattered almost, and there was times when I was in St. Louis where my name was thrown in the hat or in speculation of different trades as well. So and nothing ever came of it, but I think it's good. I enjoy it. I enjoy playing bullpen GM or front office manager. So I get it. I get the speculation and everything that comes along with the business.
Yeah. Follow up. So I guess I know we've talked a little bit about potentially what you'd want to do post baseball, and it sounds like you've got a lot of different options. Do you think like if you were to be involved with the game still, that you would lean toward the coaching and player development type stuff, or do you think you would want to be a part of a front office and the people that are making the calls on player personnel moves?
Yeah, at some point I would love to get under the hood a little bit per se of what these departments in the front office look like for player procurement, for player development, player analysis. It seems like there's somewhat of a sophisticated system, and each team has their own kind of proprietary work that they've put in place. And at this point in my career, and having spent most of my life in the game, it would be cool to see what those approaches looked like. And I haven't had the opportunity to really dive into that up until this point. So to answer your question, I mean, I definitely have a lot of things on the checklist that I would like to check off and kind of go full circle. And really, the game that we all love, the game that I've been so fortunate to be involved in, and just to see all aspects of it, whether that's a front office or coaching position, broadcasting, whatever it may be. I mean, it's a great industry, and there's so many cool ways to stay involved.
Yeah. There's a scene in Moneyball where they're teaching Jonah Hill's character how to fire somebody. Could you fire somebody? Like, just getting the vibes of you're like so nice. Could you fire somebody and tell them like, you're out of here, bud? You're not good.
Man, I think you're right. I don't know. That would be hard. That would be hard. They'd have to be really messing up. I don't know.
Like, what if you got a job in a front office and you had to fire somebody you used to play with, or with a coach of yours before? Could you do it?
I even think about like a GM, like, man, like you got this young kid and, sending him down in the minor leagues and crushing his dreams, and he's got a family. And I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, I'd probably have 100 people on the roster that shouldn't be on the roster.
Your 40-man roster would be like 80, and the MLB be calling and be like, Trevor, you can't do that. What is happening?
Just breaking
Trevor,
all the
why
rules.
is Taylor Motter still on your roster?
Yeah.
He's 46.
I love it. No, it's I've had some good friends that are in the front offices, and that's kind of surreal now too. You guys were talking about Skip Schumacher. We played together, and now seeing guys like him, Descalzo, getting into some positions. It's cool. I mean, it's cool to see guys like that who I know are just great dudes and great baseball guys to continue to give back. I saw Descalzo at the winter meetings, and I told him, I'm like, man, like I talk about you all the time. Like you were such a great teammate. Like you were so important in the clubhouse, and like I know like you taking this position is a choice for you, and it's a sacrifice being away from your family, not, but you're gonna play such a huge role in these kids' lives and in this organization. So it's cool to see that.
Is there anybody else that you played with the Cardinals that you think could make a good manager or coach someday, that was just one of those guys that was like, dude, he just gets it. He's just that kind of guy who could be in charge of a ball club outside of Yachty, since we know that's probably something that he will do at some point?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm good friends with Ollie. Like, I met him when I was coming up through the system. I really think that he's a great dude, and I haven't been under his management or been close to it at all, but I think he has a great fit for that role right now. Gosh, I'm trying to think of like coaches. I mean, Descalzo for sure. So many guys I think would do great just because of their experience and their passion for the game. But it's a hard job. Like, it's hard to, mesh the ones that would be good and the ones that would also be willing to go into that, because oftentimes, as a player, you go through the grind, and then once you're done, you're like, man, I don't know, going back into coaching and that same grind that I had as a player, I don't know if that's for me. But I think I don't know. David Freese might be a good guy to have around. He's a very likable guy and gets along with everybody. And for a while there, he was posting a little bit on social media some opinions he had on swings and hitters' approach. So I think he's intellectual about the work that he's put in. So he might be a good one. I know Lance Berkman stays pretty involved down here in Houston with at the college level, but maybe he would consider something professionally. Chris Carpenter definitely comes to mind as another one. I know he's dipped his toes in the water a little bit, but maybe in the future he'll want to get back more involved with the organization, St. Louis specifically. I don't know. What do you got, JD? Got any ones that come off the top of the head?
Well, John Jay might be interesting too, because he's been first base coach, right, at the Marlins, a third base coach. So he seems like he's on the track, but that's the only other one that would come to mind.
I was wondering if, you see Matt Carpenter's career starting to wind down a little bit. He just got moved again. I wonder what he would be as a guy that wasn't, because I always think about guys who weren't expected to be superstars and then come up and just do amazing things and are able to outplay what scouts thought that they were going to be. I wonder if a Matt Carpenter would be somebody. He seemed like he was a good fit. He's a winner, and I don't know. I've always just been really appreciative of what Matt Carpenter brought to the table, especially in those lean years when he was having a tough time with the team, and yet he still went out there, still grinding, and everybody still had his back. And those are the toughest situations, when everything isn't going right, and he's still showing up every game and doing what he does. And I don't know. He just seemed like a guy that might be somebody who, if he wanted to get into coaching, I know you mentioned how difficult that is to go back to the grind again after you've been doing it for a career. So I don't know. He's somebody that comes off the top of my head.
Yeah, his dad actually has an extensive background in coaching. I think he's in the Texas, high school coaching Hall of Fame. So maybe that's rubbed off on him. I think he might be on the right track there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I got one more question. I don't know if he would be a good coach, but I mean, you played with my favorite player of all time. Most people don't know this. My favorite player ever is Alan Craig. I grew up just loving him, loved watching him play. Super clutch too. Always good with runners in scoring position. I think I've got to be one of the only people at the ballpark walking around in an Alan Craig jersey when I wear it. It's custom, awesome. Right? I needed it. So do you have one Alan Craig story for me? I was sitting there and I was like, man, I got to ask about this. I got to know.
Well, I mean, a story that we're probably all familiar with was a Game 3 in 2013. Yes. So what I remember most about that moment, for those of you who aren't aware, is the Game 3, 9th inning. Craig gets tied up with Will Middlebrooks at third base on a pretty crazy play. A great play by Dustin Pedroia at second base to make a throw home, but tailed up, and then he ends up being the walk-off winning run for us to score. And that moment was insane. We all come running out of the dugout. We're super excited. We won. We're like, yeah, we're going to dogpile, go crazy. And Kreger is just pancaked on the ground, just laying there. I'm like, okay, I don't know. Should we celebrate, or is he okay? What's going on? It was what do we do? Kind of a back and forth. Do we get the paramedic? Do we keep jumping and high-fiving?
That's awesome.
But he had been dealing with an ankle injury, and
yeah,
I guess the slide helmet guy tweaked it a little bit, and he ended up walking off the field. Everything was okay. But that's when I think of Alan Craig, like that's the first story that always comes to mind for
that's
sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, did we lose?
Yeah, I was actually at that game. I don't know what happened to John. Oh, here he is. It's happened last time too.
Oh, you were at that game?
Yeah, I was at that game. We talked about this last time. Is awesome
That's what
story.
I thought we might have talked about it.
Yeah.
That's so
well, Trevor and JD, thanks for joining us. We really appreciated it, especially this late at night too. It's really appreciate talking baseball, talking Cardinal baseball. Again, thanks to everyone in the stream who's been here and anyone who's donated so far, even just come and hang out. This has been super awesome. We've had an awesome guest lineup throughout the day. Really appreciative of everyone who's been able to come along for the ride. Again, keep close watch on Trevor as he makes his comeback, and hopefully he latches on with the team here soon. And we're looking forward to seeing you in 2024. Then obviously JD, you can catch him on the Locked On Cardinals podcast. So he's got all that stuff going on as well. Subscribe over there on YouTube and catch all their stuff going. So anything from you, JD or Trevor, as we close out?
No, man. Thanks for doing this. You guys have a great thing going here. I appreciate you involving me. Thanks for doing the work for Brace for Impact, JD. Great to connect with you. Be looking forward to keeping up with the Cardinals this year through you guys.
Awesome. Thanks Trevor. So really appreciate it, man.
Such a pleasure to have you on, Trevor. So much fun.